You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Good morning. So glad you're here. Life is sweet here at Flo's Focus. Pull up a chair. The coffee's perked, so go ahead, pour yourself a cup. Let's have some fun and see what we can find to explore today. Here in the sticks of Arkansas, this is one of the first things you hear early in the morning. Guaranteed. It's just sitting there waiting, ready to tell you all about it. And they call Arkansas the land of opportunity. Well, at least Gun Campbell did in his song when he sang Land of Opportunity. And, the nickname of Arkansas is the natural state. Well, there's a few things you might not know about Arkansas. Of course, you probably know that it's the state where you can always be sure to find chiggers if you go out in the tall grasses, or ticks if you don't spray down, and use long pants and long shirts, things to that nature. Well, they tell me that the more I hang around here in Arkansas, the more southern my accent gets. So if I'm sounding more southern, I don't know whether that's a good thing or bad thing. My mama was born in the South, but I never did pick up her southern accent. But my daddy was born in Indiana, and I was born in Kansas, so I went to a Kansas school, and I don't think I really picked up a southern accent, but maybe they're right. When I get down here, I might sound more southern. So if I do, just know that might not last. So either enjoy it while you can or know it's going to change soon. Okay, well, Arkansas was organized as a territory in March 2nd, 1819. In fact, it's time we take a look at Arkansas, so this is pretty good timing here. It entered the Union June 15th, 1836. The present Constitution was adopted 1874, and its motto is "The People Rule." I don't know about that. Sometimes I think the chiggers and ticks rule. The flowers, the apple blossom, the trees, the pine, the bird, you remember the mockingbird? Yep. I love to hear the mockingbird do different sounds. And the honeybee is the insect. And the song is Arkansas. Okay, the origin of the name came from the Quapaw Indians. There's 10 largest cities here. Just know that Little Rock is the biggest amongst all the cities here. It's also the capital. The land area of Arkansas is 52,068 square miles. And the number of counties is 75. We have 51 state parks here. And if you ever meet an Arkansasier, you don't call them Arkansasier, you call them an Arkansan. Arkansas. That's how you pronounce it, I believe. We have more males than females here so far. Or no, I got that wrong. I got it turned around. There's more females than males here, unbelievably. And we have a mixture of populations as far as cultures go. Arkansas is the southern United States, bordering the Mississippi River. I guess you probably know that. It's known for its abundant park and wilderness areas. It has lots of mountains and caves. Yeah, it even has mountains. Mount Magazine is the tallest point in Arkansas. In fact, at one point they said that the Colorado Mountains were as big as the Ozark Mountains, but what happened was over time, the waters, the rains, the glacier effect, that changed Arkansas, and eventually it became smaller in size but older than the Rocky Mountains. The rugged Ozarks region in its northwest has hiking trails and limestone caves such as Blanchard Springs Caverns. And of course, its capital, Little Rock, hosts the Clinton Presidential Center, housing Bill Clinton's presidential archives. We'll get into the Clintons a little bit later here. In the meantime, I'll just share a couple of little things with you that might interest you about this state. I love having fun with the state here in Arkansas. It's a fun place to be overall. Sadly, though, in 2008, Arkansas joined the unfortunate list of states that have suffered school shootings. 4 men were charged with capital murder and other felonies for the fatal shootings of 2 students and wounding of a third near a University of Central Arkansas dormitory. Okay, I'm going to share a little bit with you about the different cities that I'm in here in Arkansas to begin with. You might enjoy that because they're very unique cities. Berryville is a city in Carroll County, Arkansas, United States. The population was about 5,356 in 2010, and it's grown since then. Berryville was founded, I believe it was 1850, yep, and it was founded by local settler Blackburn Henderson Berry. His nephew, James Henderson Berry, would become the 14th governor of Arkansas in 1883. Our U.S. Route 62 passes through the center of the city, leading east 30 miles to Harrison and west 46 miles to Rogers. Eureka Springs is 12 miles to the west on U.S. 62, and Arkansas Highway 21 leads north from Berryville 16 miles to the Missouri line. So you know a little bit more about Berryville now. Oh, and the Berryville Post Office is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. And by the way, Eureka Springs, which is, as I said, I think it's about 12 miles or so. Anyway, the entire city there is listed on the National Historic Society. It's, I believe, maybe the only city in the United States where the whole city is actually considered historic. It has a lot of what are those houses called? Victorian homes. Yeah, it has a lot of 2008 through 2012. The estimated median annual income for a household in the city was $30,046, and the median income for a family was $37,717. Places of interest include the Saunders Museum, which has guns used by outlaws such as Pancho Villa, Billy the Kid, and many others, as well as many other items of interest, is located in the center of town. And I don't know if I mentioned Cosmic Cavern. It's about 7 miles north of Arkansas on Highway 21. A lot of people like it going in there. Berryville is the home of handgun manufacturing companies of Nighthawk Custom and Wilson Combat, as well as the International Defense Pistol Association, a body that sanctions practical shooting competitions that emphasize real-world self-defense scenarios. Little Portion Hermitage, a community founded by Christian musical John Michael Talbot, is located outside of Berryville. Spaniard, we know this guy's name, De Soto, we've heard much about him, was among the early European explorers to visit the territory in the mid-16th century. However, it was a Frenchman, Henry de Tonta, who in 1686 founded the first permanent white settlement. It was called the Arkansas Post. In 1803, the area was acquired by the U.S. as a part of the Louisiana Purchase. Part of the territory of Missouri from 1812, the area became a separate entity in 1819 after the first large wave of settlers arrived. The next several decades were marked by the development of the cotton industry and the spread of the southern plantation system west into Arkansas. Arkansas joined the Confederacy in 1861, but from 1863, the northern part of the state was occupied by Union troops. Food products are the state's largest employing sector, with lumber and wood products a close second. Arkansas is also a leader in the production of cotton, rice, and soybeans. It also has the country's only active diamond mine located near Murfreesboro. It is operated as a tourist attraction, so you can go over there and dig for diamonds. Good luck if you do. Hot Springs National Park and Buffalo National River in the Ozarks are major state attractions. Blanchard Springs Caverns, the Historic Arkansas Museum at Little Rock, the William J. Clinton Birthplace in Hope, and the Arkansas Folk Center in Mountain View are also of interest. New in 2011 is the Crystal Bridges Museum for American Art, designed by Moshe Softy, which houses the collection of Walmart Harris Alice Walton. The next town I'll tell you a little bit about is Green Forest. The historic town of Green Forest was originally developed near an area of Carroll County known as Scott's Prairie. It was so named for John Scott, an early settler of Indian descent born in 1788. Scott was a well-known blacksmith and bell maker in the county. Scott's Prairie was actually west of present-day Green Forest, with the homestead of John J. Grimm to the east. Other early settlers in the area by 1836 included William Martin and John Yoakum, followed by George Buell, Anderson Cox, Jonathan Norris, John Grimm, and the list goes on and on. A post office was established, as I mentioned, on November 16th, 1855, with A.M. DeShiel serving as first postmaster, though it was short-lived, closing temporarily on August 8th, 1856. So, it didn't even survive a year. John J. Grimm then reopened it on July 29th, 1867, and he was new postmaster. The new name Green Forest was reportedly suggested in honor of a stand of shade trees near the edge of Scott's Prairie that were preserved by John Grimm for the public square. The first structures in town consisted of a log church and school. Early stores built before the Civil War were destroyed by fire. They also had a fire in Berryville. In fact, they wanted to make Green Forest the county seat when the jail burnt in 1887. Residents of Green Forest pushed to have the county seat removed to their town. They argued that the cost of rebuilding the jail could be avoided, and also that the recent formation of the Western District of Carroll County rendered Green Forest closer to the center of the Eastern District. A newspaper called the Arkansas Tomahawk was created to further that case. But after some political quibbling, the seat remained in Berryville. So, it may be good and it may be bad, but that's where you'll find the county seat. Eureka Springs also has a county seat, which is interesting because you have two county seats in one county. Okay. The first school established in Green Forest was a 30 by 25 foot frame structure. It was replaced 10 years later by a more substantial 3-story structure measuring 28 by 50 feet. Then in 1905, a new school building was constructed at a cost of $5,000. But again, it burned to a fire prior to opening. A year later, a new school opened in Green Forest and served the community for many years until it was destroyed by a tornado in 1927. The bricks were salvaged, however, for the next school facility. And the school facility was utilized until 1967 when a modern school building was constructed. The first college in Green Forest was the Ozark Normal School, opened in 1904 by W.D. Crawford, and it was destroyed in a fire in 1907. Well, the first home within Green Forest proper was constructed in 1870 by William Billy Ward, who also operated one of the first stores in town after the war. Richard David Galloway was also an early post-war store operator in Green Forest. By 1874, 3 houses had been constructed within town limits. Elijah Wise would be the town's new blacksmith and serve in that capacity for over 50 years. Hamby established a flour mill, sawmill, and cotton gin in 1887. And within 2 years, the town also featured its own general stores, drugstore, hotel, grocery store, and legal offices. I mean, Green Forest was going places, folks. The town was incorporated on February 22nd, 1895. The first passenger train to stop in Green Forest arrived on April 15th, 1901. In the same year, the first bank in town was established. It was called the Bank of Green Forest. Many of the public square buildings in Green Forest was built by Charles Pyron Sr., and he did a fine job because those buildings are still standing, most of them that were built after the Civil War. He also played a major role in the construction of the public square in Berryville. His sons were also accomplished masons whose work could be found across northwest Arkansas and southwest Missouri along the railroad routes. Another man responsible for much of the construction was James Reeves. He was born in 1867 and he constructed many buildings, bridges, roads, and churches. He built government buildings in Harrison as well as the Jefferson Highway between Berryville and Huntsville. Throughout his life, Reeves wore many, many hats. In addition to his success as a mason and contractor, he was also a big established farmer, an accomplished lumberman, and business owner. Well, he established the Green Forest Canning Factory, which boosted the local economy a lot, and he created jobs and earned himself the nickname of Father of the Tomato Industry. He also served as president of the Green Forest School Board and the town's mayor. Mr. F.O. Butt was also an important figure in the history of Green Forest. He had settled in the area in 1885 with his family and would soon become a driving force behind the development of the town. Throughout his career, he would also serve as mayor, city treasurer, and the vice president of several area banks. And if you're wondering, folks, yes, his name was spelled B-U-T-T, the same name that I worked with a Dr. Butt when I was a nurse. Okay, and there was hopes for a new town with Green Forest. Quite a new town, they thought. When the railroad arrived, they had a number of business owners that attempted to move most of the downtown commerce closer to the new depot, which was located about a mile from Green Forest Public Square on land owned by Almond Wyatt. They hoped to create a new business center that they called Newtown. At its height, Newtown boasted a population of about 500 people and had its own barbershop, blacksmith, canning factory, cotton gin, drugstore, flour mills, general stores, grocery store, hardware stores, hotels, insurance office, lawyer, lumberyard, meat market, millinery, newspaper, physician, planer and grist mill, produce market, printer, racket store, real estate office, roller mill, sawmill, and undertakers. I mean, that place was really happening. A fire in 1902 destroyed the local drugstore, printing office, produce market, and a popular stone hotel. Very little remains in the area of Newtown today. There were quick booms and busts. Gold was discovered while a well was being drilled in 1904, inspiring a small boom of prospecting interest, but it resulted in nothing. Rumors of oil in 1909 had the same effect. They really thought that they were going to have a great boom, and instead it turned into a bust. On March 18, 1927, a tornado hit the town, killing several residents and damaging much of the city, including the high school. Well, Green Forest today is a significant agriculture center for Carroll County. And like their neighbors to the west in Berryville, poultry and turkey farms have also become a major industry. The Green Forest Arts and Crafts Fair has been a highlight for many citizens of the county and surrounding areas. There's some great, interesting facts about Arkansas, folks. Well, I mentioned that diamonds were in Arkansas, and they were first discovered by John W. Huddlestone in 1906, where Crater of Diamonds State Park stands now. And you know, it is strictly prohibited, folks. Now, this is one of those laws that they should have removed, but they forgot, I guess. But anyway, it's strictly prohibited by law to mispronounce a state name. It is Arkansas. Now, I need to make sure my husband knows that this is a law because he always wants to call it Arkansas. It is not Arkansas, it is Arkansas. You may know that Arkansas is the natural state, but did you know that the Magnet Cove region contains 102 varieties of minerals alone? If you're a cheese dog lover, you have to really be thankful for Arkansas because they were created in Little Rock. Believe that? In Little Rock. At the Finkbeiner Meat Packing Company in 1956. They inserted cheese into the center of a hot dog, and by golly, cheese dogs were the results. Did you know that 15 meteorites have been discovered in Arkansas? And if you're a hunter and you like to go hunting for ducks and quails and things, you really need to know that the World's Championship Duck Calling Contest is held annually in Stuttgart. The next time you're moved to tears by a great movie moment, made perfect by the soundtrack, make sure you thank Pine Bluff native Freeman Owens, the first person to successfully add sound to film. So every movie that we enjoy that has sound to it, we can thank Freeman Owens. Freeman Owens is a hero in my book. to be able to listen to TV. I'm not a big TV watcher, but I do like to hear it when I watch it. And a way to save a manuscript that you write, evidently, is to do like Hemingway did. Hemingway saved his manuscripts from a fire that broke out in his writing studio in 1932 by throwing them out of an upstairs window. Well, that house is now a museum in Arkansas. And Mayor's Bakery brought the world the gift of brown and serve rolls in the 1930s, right here in Arkansas. And boy, oh boy, Mother Nature better watch out, or she might end up in jail too. It's illegal for the Arkansas River to rise above the Main Street Bridge in Little Rock. Somebody better make sure Mother Nature knows that one. And of course, we all know Walmart. We either love Walmart or we hate Walmart. But whatever your feelings are, the super chain with 11,000 stores in 27 countries opened its first store right here in Rogers, Arkansas in 1962 by Mr. Sam Walton. And did you know Mount Ida is referred to as the quartz crystal capital of the world? So if you're a quartz lover, you might want to make a visit to Mount Ida. Our largest mountain in Arkansas is Mount Magazine. You know, that brings me to an interesting story. They once said that the mounts here in Arkansas actually at one point in time were taller than the Colorado Rockies, the Colorado Mountains. And they have proof of this. And they said that what happened was the glaciers and all that came about. And it actually resulted now with our Arkansas mountains being older but smaller than the Rockies. Native Arkansas Johnny Cash's 5 Feet High and Rising song was based on a 1937 flood that saw his hometown of Dyess Colony evacuated. Little Rock is the home to the American Taekwondo Association National Headquarters. And of course, we know that there's a lot of things that happened here in the South regarding the civil rights movement. The Little Rock Nine changed the face of the civil rights movement when they walked into Little Rock Central High School in 1957 after Brown versus the Board of Education ruling deemed segregation unconstitutional. Have you heard the song Blackbird by Paul McCartney? If so, you will be interested to know that Paul McCartney has suggested that the desegregation of Little Rock Central High School was his inspiration for the song Blackbird. And in Fayetteville, here's another one of those laws. It's illegal to kill any living creature. Well, you know, we're going to be in trouble here in Arkansas, especially in Fayetteville, if that includes mosquitoes and chiggers and ticks, because we really do get after them. Did you know more than half the state of Arkansas is covered by forest land? Pine Bluff, Arkansas was named America's most dangerous small town last year by CQ Press. Its crime rate is second only to Detroit. The Ozark National Forest covers more than 1 million acres. And of course, a lot of people buy Tyson food, chickens, and other products. In fact, we're getting ready to have an appreciation day for farmers, and Tyson Foods will be supplying the chicken. And it's quite an event here. Anyway, Tyson's Foods is now the world's largest producer and marketer of chicken. It began with a single truck shipping chicken from Arkansas to Chicago in 1935. In 1876, 2 Fayetteville newspaper editors had a street fight to settle their differences. The loser had to sell his paper and leave town, which he did. Have you ever read a John Grisham book? I know a lot of my soldiers always ask for John Grisham books. Well, if you've ever read one by this highly acclaimed author, you might be interested to know he was born in Jonesboro, and he lived throughout northeast Arkansas before his career took off. He sold over 225 million copies of his books, and he still returns to Arkansas these days for book signings.
And if you're hurting physically, I highly recommend hot springs. Go to hot springs. There are 47 hot springs that flow from Hot Springs Mountain at an average of temperature of 143 degrees. They have some wonderful springs there that are much cooler than that, but they're still warm enough that they really feel good and they really are helpful. And they have one place, it's a bathhouse. It's been around for a long, long time. You go in there and they give you the works. It's something. I won't even go into what all they do, but it's quite a treatment. And when you emerge from there, you feel pretty good. And as part of the Magnolia Blossom Festival, Magnolia is home to the world's largest charcoal grill and the World Championship Steak Cook-Off. Would you believe in Arkansas, native Hattie Caraway was the first woman elected to the U.S. Senate in November 1932. Yes, ma'am and sir, it happened right here in Arkansas. One of our native people, one of our citizens, I should say, Hattie Caraway was the first woman elected to the U.S. Senate in November 1932, something we take pride in. A farm in Lavaca has a silo painted, and let me tell you about this silo. If you're a Budweiser fan, you might just want to visit this town because the silo is painted into a giant Budweiser beer can. And did you know this? Before 1932, a man and woman openly flirting on the streets of Little Rock could get a 30-day stint in jail. Tell you what, I wouldn't have wanted to be one of those men or women flirting back then and have a 30-day stint in jail, especially what the jails were like in those days. And of course, we all know Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow, the two that Bonnie and Clyde, everybody knows them. Well, anyway, after Bonnie got injured in a car accident, fellow motorist, her partner Clyde, stole another car and hid out in a tourist camp in Fort Smith in 1933. What started off as a small store in Howard County in 1938 turned into Dillard's. If you go to a Dillard's store today, you will remember, please, that it started in Harrell County in 1938. That is one of the top department stores in the country now. And everybody's heard of the ghosts that live in the Ozarks. Well, one of those ghosts include the Dover Lights. Now, this is an unexplained phenomenon that witnesses say flicker and sway in various colors in the sky overlooking the Ozark Valley. Legend has it that they're lights carried by Spanish conquistador ghosts searching for their lost gold in the foothills. And if you're a fan of Maybelline makeup, well, their company is headquartered in New York. Its factory is based in Little Rock since 1975, and would you believe it sold an average of 1.7 tubes of mascara every second? 1.7 tubes every second. There's a city in Arkansas called Fouke, F-O-U-K-E. And let me ask you first, before I tell you about this city, are you scared of monsters? If you are, you may not want to go to Fouke, because Fouke is said to be the home of the Boggy Creek Monster, or the Fouke Monster, a 7-foot-tall, hairy Bigfoot wannabe that reportedly kills chicken, cattle, dogs, and livestock. Now, this is a sad fact, and there may have been more than this by now, but there have been at least 138 soldiers from Arkansas that have been killed since 9/11. That's kind of a sad fact. And some of our famous people include GM Bronco Anderson, Bronco Billy, an actor, D. Brown, author, who has written Native American books, Glenn Campbell, who is a singer and actually sang about Arkansas, Hattie Caraway, again, she's that first elected woman senator, Johnny Cash, singer, and William Jefferson Clinton, former president. We'll touch on him briefly, not that it's worth it, though. And Dizzy Dean, baseball player, John Grisham, author, Douglas MacArthur, everybody knows Douglas MacArthur, the general, Albert Pike, pioneer teacher and lawyer, and Scottie Pippen, NBA player, Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, and my husband, an avid Minnesota Twin fan, wanted me to make sure and let everyone know that Torrey Hunter played center field for the Minnesota Twins is from Pine Bluff. So now you know the rest of that story.
We have to stop and pay some bills here, folks, but we'll be back right after this.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hey, this is John Preston, Marine Combat Veteran and Pacific Records recording artist. Just reaching out to have you check out our new album, Battle Cry, Songs of America's Heroes, an album featuring phenomenal other combat veteran artists like Scott Brown of the Scooter Brown Band, Ryan Weaver, Rowdy Johnson, just an incredible mix of people. This is all veterans telling our stories and our lives, and we're giving 100% of our proceeds to the Valkyrie Initiative to help veterans and first responders integrate back into society. I myself have battled with post-traumatic stress for many years and lost my own brother, a Marine Corps veteran, to suicide. I ask that you step with us and make this happen. We are in pre-order right now and release on March 17th. Go to iTunes, go to Amazon, buy. We plan on making the charts and making it at a very high level, and your support right now makes a difference. This is the release of my new song, Superman Falls, which is actually about the loss of my own brother, which happened last year, and I would love for everyone to check it out, to listen, and hopefully it'll make a difference in many lives.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
Get your free inventor's information. Call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
I do love our, however, we do have our negatives here too. Have the Clintons that come from Arkansas. And a lot of people, they might want to overlook all that they've done. But there's no way that you really can when you consider the question of how many people do you yourself, personally know who have died mysteriously. In plane, consider everything: plane crashes, car wrecks, bizarre suicides, people beaten to death or murdered in a haul of bullets, and freak accidents. All kinds of freak accidents, all kinds. Well, apparently, if you're Bill or Hillary Clinton, that answer can be at least 33 and possibly many more. So I'm going to ask you, without going into a lot of details about these murders, there's at least 33. If you really are interested, you can write me and I'll share with you what those 33 are. And I'll tell you, living in Arkansas, I've seen a lot more than a lot of people may have regarding the Clintons, and I am not a Clinton fan, nor will I ever be. And I will end that statement right there. Now, there is a person that I am a fan of, and that is our Green Forest native who gave his life. He was a Navy SEAL. We have named a street in his honor here in Green Forest. He was killed in 2011 when his helicopter was shot down in Afghanistan. His name is Tommy Ratzliff, and our street is called the Tommy Ratzliff Avenue. His mother said that her son would have been humbled by the recognition, but that he would have wanted his entire team to be honored. He was a Navy Special Warfare Operator assigned to an East Coast Base Special Warfare Unit. He was in a CH-47 Chinook helicopter, and it crashed. It killed him and also fellow Arkansan John Brown and 37 others. Now, I know we say the more deployment someone goes through, the greater chance they have of dying. And we think that even 2 or 3 is quite a few. But do you know that Ratzliff, he was 34 and he was on his 12th deployment in support of the War on Terror. He had been both in Afghanistan many, many times, and also he'd been in Iraq. He enlisted in the Navy almost immediately after his graduation. Being in the Navy, being in the service, was something he had wanted to do his entire life. His daddy and him used to go do reenactments since he was a little boy. And he would help carry things from the time he was just a little one. And he had always wanted to be in the service. That had been a life goal for him. So he did enter the service. He entered training at the Naval Special Warfare Advanced Training Department in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And he later graduated from the Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL School in Coronado, California. And upon completion of his SEAL training in 1998, he began his service with East Coast Base Special Warfare Units. He became a member of SEAL Team Number 6. He received numerous awards and decorations, including the Bronze Star Medal for Valor. He received 4 of those. The Joint Service Commendation Medal, the Navy Marine Corps Commendation Medal, and the Navy Marine Corps Achievement Medal, 2 awards. He was also awarded many, many, many other awards. Following his death, he was awarded the Bronze Star Medal for Valor, which would be his 5th award, Defense Meritorious Service Medal, and the Purple Heart. He was also awarded the Star of Military Valor, Canada's 2nd highest military award for valor, for his actions in Afghanistan while he was supporting Canadian troops. He was only the 2nd American so honored since World War I. So that's really saying something, I believe, for our Green Forest native. Some of the SEALs who served with him described Ratzliff as the fiercest officer that they ever worked with and harder than nails. He was able to stand up for himself and for our nation. One of the SEALs recalled a boring night in Iraq in 2007 when Ratzliff led in the creation of a chandelier crafted from AK-47 weapons, a chandelier that still hung fully functional in a foreign outpost at the time. He told Ratzliff's sons that your father loved you two so much. Your father was a great man. And he told his wife that she had been her husband's anchor, for which the SEALs thanked her. Thomas Ratzliff was born November 3rd, 1976, in Harrison, Arkansas. He enlisted on May 23rd, 1995, and his basic training was in Great Lakes, Illinois. I mentioned many of the awards that he received. For heroic achievement in connection with combat operations against the enemy as a reconnaissance team leader for a joint task force in support of Operation Enduring Freedom from 1st of March 2010 to 1st of July 2010. During this period, Senior Chief Petty Officer Ratzliff displayed superior battlefield courage on several direct missions that resulted in numerous enemy combatants eliminated. On 4th of April 2010, he was in charge of a sniper team during a nighttime raid on a heavily armed foreign fighter commander. As the assault force set containment, they were engaged by an armed sentry patrolling in front of the target building. From his position on an adjacent building, Senior Chief Petty Officer Ratzliff quickly eliminated the enemy sentry, while the tactical call-out commended. During this call-out, several heavily armed foreign fighters unleashed a massive volley of fire from inside the targeted building. While under heavy enemy small arms fire, Senior Chief Petty Officer Ratzliff calmly maintained his position as he returned direct fire at the barricaded enemy until the enemy fire subsided. His decisive actions under fire resulted in the elimination of the targeted individual and many heavily armed foreign fighters. By his extraordinary guidance, zealous initiative, and total dedication to duty, Senior Chief Petty Officer Ratzliff reflected great credit upon himself and held the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. His fourth of 5 Bronze Star Medal with Valor Citation was what the information I just read you stated. He was only 34 when he died. He had 2 sons, a wife, and at the time, his wife was expecting their 3rd child, a girl. Besides his wife and his children, he also left behind a sister and a mother. So besides Ratzliff, there was also another serviceman who died. His father, Benjamin Arthur Ratzliff, died October 4th at age 68. King is a friend of his, said he remembered the younger Ratzliff coming back to Green Forest and speaking passionately at his father's funeral. Well, I had mentioned that they did a reproduction of wars. They did a reproduction of a Civil War, and his father bought them a Civil War cannon for them to use in the reenactments. King further said it would not have been Ben's nature to buy a cannon. He obviously loved his son very much. You could tell that with Tommy's words at the funeral. State Representative John Woods remembers growing up with Air Force John W. Brown, the other one that was killed, the other soldier that was killed from Siloam Springs. He said he remembers watching TV with him, especially Saturday Night Live, and there'd be a dozen boys, and, back in those days especially, they would go cruising, on the fast food strip along US 412 in Siloam Springs. When they got tired of driving, they sat in parking lots and they talked for hours and hours and hours. They said they kind of watched each other grow up. And Woods remembered him being physically fit with a great sense of humor, just the all-American boy. They'd wrestle together and have good time together, Woods and this friend and this particular person that he grew up with, our serviceman, that also died. In high school, Brown was 6'1" and weighed about 100 pounds. After 2 years in the military, he weighed about 230 pounds, and Woods remembered him at that time being pure muscle. He said that just about 6 months before Brown died, they spoke together on the phone, and Woods was very glad that they had that opportunity. 30 American servicemen, most of them elite Navy SEALs, died when their helicopter was shot down Saturday by the Taliban, according to the Associated Press. They had rushed to help Army Rangers who had come under fire, 2 U.S. officials said Sunday. It was the deadliest single loss for U.S. forces in the decade-long war in Afghanistan. 95 servicemen with Arkansas ties have died in the United States war in Iraq and Afghanistan, 72 in Iraq and 23 in Afghanistan. And that was printed just May 26, so that should be pretty accurate. 77 resulted from enemy fire, 17 deaths occurred as a result of non-combat situations, and 1 was due to friendly fire. There were many who died in that crash, 72. There were 3 airmen who died, Sergeant John Brown, Sergeant Andrew Harville, and Sergeant Daniel Zerby. There were also many other special warfare operators, including Brian Bill, Officer John Fass, Kevin Houston, Matthew Mason, our Special Warfare Operator Senior Chief Petty Officer Thomas A. Ratzliff, Special Warfare Operator Louis J. Langlis, Lieutenant Commander Jonas Kelsall, and so many more. So many more. It's a very sad time for all that were involved in that wreck. The wreck happened on August 6, 2011. It happened in a place called the Tongi Valley. It was located along the border between Afghanistan's Wardak and Logar provinces, some 80 miles southwest of Kabul. It is a remote, inaccessible area. It's known for its resistance to foreign. Alexander the Great suffered heavy troop losses even back in those days during his campaign in 4th century BC. In the 1980s, there were, I don't know how you pronounce this, Mujahideen, Hadan fighters in Wardak and Logar provinces devastated an entire division of Soviet fighters. So, in 2009, U.S. forces from the 10th Mountain Division Army established a base in this valley. The Taliban had taken advantage of low coalition presence there to establish a stronghold within striking distance of the Afghan capital. So the United States and NATO allies began a drawdown of their troops in the spring of 2011, as we know. U.S. forces turned the Tangai Valley outpost to their Afghan counterparts. So they continued to run operations in the area, however, helicopter special operation forces to combat groups of insurgents in the region. Anyway, under cover of darkness, on the night of August 6, 2011, a special ops team that included U.S. Army Rangers began an assault on a Taliban compound Make Zaron in the Tanga Valley. The firefight at the house went on for at least 2 hours, and the ground team called in reinforcements. So, as the helicopter carrying those 30 U.S. troops, 7 Afghan commandos, Afghan civilian interpreter, and a U.S. military dog approached, the insurgents fired on the helicopter and it crashed to the ground, killing all. That is how we lost our 30 Americans. 22 were Navy, 17 were SEALs. These included 2 bomb specialists and 15 operators in the Gulf Squad 6. Team 6 was the team that killed Osama bin Laden at his Pakistan the previous May. None of the operators killed in that helicopter crash, however, had been involved in that mission. That's what officials said. In addition to the SEALs, the others killed in the Chinook crash included 5 other Naval Special Warfare personnel, 3 Air Force forward air controllers, 5 Army helicopters. It was known as the deadliest day in NSW history. 7D landings on D-Day, June 6, 1940. Sometimes my words don't want to come out. Really have to work at that. Okay, some later questioned the official narrative of the Extortion 17 crash, even suggesting the attack could have been an inside job, with Afghan forces tipping the Taliban off about the mission beforehand. Others criticized the planning and execution of the mission, including the decision to fly the helicopter into an area where it could easily be shot down, and the use of a conventional helicopter rather than one designed for special. Some of the family members of SEAL Team 6 operation crash, along with some of the military personnel, claimed that the U.S. government had turned the members of the elite unit to a target by revealing their role in the bin Laden raid. The Congressional Oversight Committee even held a controversial hearing into the events surrounding the crash. They held that meeting in 2014. Though the U.S.-led coalition formally ended its combat mission in Afghanistan in December 2014, the war has continued. It still continues. Not everyone understands that. But October of 2016 marked its 15th anniversary. As of 2016, some 9,800 U.S. troops remained in Afghanistan. Yes, they are still in war. The Department of Defense estimates the total number U.S. service members killed in Afghanistan at 2,254 soldiers. This article that those particular facts from history.com, and it was dated May 26, 2017. So I'd say that's a very accurate number. The civilian toll of the war grows even ever higher. One estimate by the organization Internal Physicians for the Prevention of War put the total number of Afghans killed in the first 12 years of the conflict some 220. Well, considering our SEALs, we have our SEAL, Tommy Ratzliff. We do some special things for Tommy, too. One of those things is our rat race. The rat race is pretty special, as a matter of fact. Finds with Arkansas Fallen Heroes Memorial Visit and 2016 rat race I was able to attend, and it was very special. They have flags called the traveling flag. It honors the 146 Arkansas service members who have sacrificed their lives for their country since September 11, 2001. So it's very special. They have a picture of the soldier that died and a description below the picture. Also have a run that they do and all those benefits for our soldiers. It's quite an ordeal. If you ever get the chance to attend, even though Green Forest is very small, it's very worthwhile. 16 rat race was privileged to host the Fallen Heroes. It's a very, very beautiful display. I can tell you, I was so honored to be there. We're not here to honor what happened to these fallen heroes, they say, but to honor who they were, what they were doing, and what they had become. Arkansas Run for the Fallen merged Hopper's program, which is essentially the flags as I understand it, with its own in May 2014, displaying the traveling flag field, said, when Hopper became unable to do so on his own. The Arkansas Run for the Fallen is a yearly marathon, and it's really great how everybody lines up. Last year, there were a lot of people here from a small town that participated. Rather, to raise awareness for the Native Arkansas military service members who have died serving on active duty. Each mile is dedicated to an Arkansas service member. One team stops at the marker for the service member and presents an American flag, biographical card in honor of the service member's sacrifice. This year's Run for the Fall 16 was held for the Fallen was March 18th to March 20th. But they had a great rat race. The rat race was just phenomenal. It was quite an honor to see that. Flags, if those flags and those biographies and the pictures of each soldier doesn't touch your heart, I'm not too sure you have one. I'd like to share a poem that I consider worth reading. The author is unknown. It was from the internet. And I hope this is one that make you think about all of our soldiers. Yes, Memorial Day is over. But you know, Memorial Day was very significant to me. Before I read the poem, I'll share with you just a bit of what I did on Memorial Day. I did it for 3 days straight, and I went to various cemeteries because I had loved ones there. When I went there, of course, I put flowers on my loved ones' graves, but I also picked flowers on the graves of the forgotten soldiers, the soldiers that didn't have anything on them. You know, it's sad for me to see that when you are at a cemetery and they don't have any. You would think that all of our veterans, every one of them would have a flag, but evidently, from what I've been told, not all cemeteries' records are up to date. They don't know where all of their veterans are at. So I guess we need some volunteers to help out with that. This is a poem I'd like. He was getting old and paunchy, and his hair was falling fast, and he sat around the Legion, telling stories of the past, of a war that he once fought in, and the deeds that he had done, in his exploits with his buddies. They were heroes, every one. And though sometimes to his neighbors his tales became a joke, all his buddies listened quietly. They knew whereof he spoke. But we'll hear his. Old Bob has passed away. Girl's a little poorer, born by many, just his children and his wife. See, he lived an ordinary, very quiet sort of life. Held a job and raised a family, going quietly on his way, and the world won't note his passing, though a soldier died today. When politicians leave this earth, their bodies lie in state, while thousands note their passing and proclaim how great they were. Papers tell of their life stories from the time that they were young, but the soldier goes unnoticed and unsung. Is the greatest contribution to the welfare of our land some jerk who breaks his promise and cons his fellow man, or is it the ordinary fellow, times of war and strife, goes off to serve his country and offers up his life? Politicians' stipend and the style in which he lives are often disproportionate to the service that he gives, while the ordinary soldier who offered up his all is paid off with a medal and perhaps a pension small. So easy to forget them. For it was so long ago that our Bobs and Jims and Johnnies went. We know it is not the politicians with their compromise and praise who won for us the freedom that our country now enjoys. Should you find yourself in danger with your enemies at hand, would you really want some cop-out with his ever-waffling stand? Or would you want a soldier, his home, his country, his kin, just a common soldier who would fight until the end? Oh, yes, he was just a common soldier, and his ranks are growing thin. But his presence should remind us we may need his like again. For when countries are in conflict, we find the soldier's part is to clean up all the troubles that the cannot do him honor. While he's here to hear the praise, then at least let's give him homage at the ending of his days. Perhaps just a simple headline in the paper that might say, "Our country is in mourning. A soldier died today." By the way, I have some important news that you should know. If you or someone you care about has ever served in the Army, the Historical Foundation wants to make sure that everyone who has done so can the National Museum of the United States Army. This foundation invites current soldiers, Army veterans, and loved ones on their behalf to submit their stories of Army service to the Registry of the American Soldier. This will be one of the largest collections of American soldier profiles ever assembled. The foundation currently features these stories online, and the collection will be made available on kiosk throughout the future National Army Museum. The foundation is also accepting the stories of the people and animals that support it. Registry of the Army Community recognizes the service of civilians such as Army spouses, Department of the Army civilians, and USO employees. The Registry of Animals and Service to the Army preserves the history of animals, loyally supporting such as transportation, communication, security, and bomb detection. All registries are free, so go today and visit www.armyhistory.org, the registries to get started. The process takes only a few minutes, but the story there will be preserved for.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hey, this is John Preston, Marine combat veteran and Pacific Records recording artist. Just reaching out to have you check out our new album, Battle Cry, Songs of America's Heroes, an album featuring phenomenal other combat veteran artists like Scott Brown of the Scooter Brown Band, Ryan Weaver, Rowdy Johnson, just an incredible mix of people. This is all veterans telling our stories and our lives, and we're giving 100% of our proceeds to the Valkyrie Initiative to help veterans and first responders integrate back into society. I myself have battled with post-traumatic stress for many years and lost my own brother, a Marine Corps veteran, to suicide. I ask that you step with us and make this happen. We are in pre-order right now and release on March 17th. Go to iTunes, go to Amazon, buy. We plan on making the charts and making it at a very high level, and your support right now makes a difference. This is the release of my new song, Superman Falls, which is actually about the loss of my own brother, which happened last year, and I would love for everyone to check it out, to listen, and hopefully it'll make a difference in many lives.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
Get your free inventor's information. Call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
In fact, the Wall Street Journal is the only source that is trusted more than distrusted across the spectrum. There is a way to check, to keep in mind as to how to check regarding false news and fake news. That is using the CARS checklist, a great checklist that has been used recently, I understand, by college kids. And it includes 4 letters, CARS, and CARS stands for credibility, accuracy, reasonableness, and support, designed to provide some criteria for assessing the quality of a source, whether that's in print or online. Few sources will meet every criterion in the list, and even those that do may not possess the highest level of quality possible. But if you learn to use the criteria in this list to critically evaluate the material you're reading, you'll be much better able to support the high quality information from the poor quality. So here's the summary. Credibility. Credible, it is what? Well, it's trustworthy. Quality of evidence and argument is evident. The author's credentials are available. Quality control is evident. It's respected authority. It has organizational support. The goal of credibility is that it will be an authoritative source, a source that supplies some good evidence that allows you to trust it. Some questions to ask to determine credibility. These questions are, is there sufficient evidence presented to make the argument persuasive? Are there compelling arguments and reasons given? Are there enough details for a reasonable conclusion about the information? Accuracy. If a source is accurate, it is up to date, factual, detailed, exact, comprehensive, and its purpose reflects intentions of completeness and accuracy. The goal of accuracy is that it's a source that is correct today, not yesterday. A source that gives the whole truth, in addition to an obvious tone or style that reveals a carelessness with detail or accuracy. There are several indicators that may mean the source is inaccurate, either whole or in part, and those include no date on the document, assertions that are vague or otherwise lacking detail, sweeping rather than qualified language, that is the use of things like always, never, every, usually, seldom, sometimes, tends, and so forth. Old date on information known to change. A very one-sided view that doesn't acknowledge opposing views or respond to them. And reasonableness. If a source is reasonable, it is fair, balanced, objective, and reasoned. There is no conflict of interest. There is an absence of fallacies or slanted tone. The goal of reasonableness is that a source that engages the subject thoughtfully, source concerned with the truth, are some clues to a lack of reasonableness. We'll see an intemperate tone or language. Oh, when you read these blogs, you always see liberals attacking conservatives and conservatives attacking liberals. Stupid jerks, they say. shrill cries, just very much an intemperate tone. Or there's language sometimes too that is intemperate. Over claims such as thousands of children are murdered every day in the United States. Sweeping statements of excessive significance, such as, this is the most important idea ever conceived. Conflict of interest. Welcome to the Old Stogie Tobacco Company homepage. To read our report, cigarette make you live longer. Or when you buy a stereo, beware of other patent circuitry. If a source is valid, it will have listed sources, contact information, available collaboration with its claims. Documentation will be supplied. Goal is a source that provides convincing evidence for the claims. Source you can triangulate. That means to find at least two other sources that support it. Some source considerations include these. Where did this information come from? What sources did the information? Are the sources listed? Is there a bibliography or other documentation? Does the author provide contact information? Wish to discuss an issue or request further clarification? What kind of support for the information is given? How does a writer know this? Very interesting to be able to spot fake news by using those checkpoints. There's some pretty good fact checkers out there. Snoops has been used a lot, although I have heard claims that Snoops is left-leaning. I think quite a lot of actual truth with general articles that come along. There's been many a try to get readers to rid their inboxes of fake news, especially with Facebook. Get all kinds of things like key characteristics of bogusness. Clear tip-offs that a chain email wasn't legitimate. Among them, an anonymous author. Excessive exclamation points, capital letters, and misspellings. This is not a hoax. Links to sourcing that does not find a lot of those on. Made-up news has grown more sophisticated, often presented on a site designed to look sort of like a legitimate news organization. I had one site, but it wasn't ABC. We do find it easy to figure out what's real and what's imaginary if we'll use that checklist and do some fact checks. So consider the source, remember the source. Remember that some of these sites do provide a fantasy news or satire warning, like The Onion, the tabloid you can get, WTOE5, which published the bogus headline, all kinds of bogus headlines actually. They state upright that, they are in fact not to be taken as fact. And do read beyond the headline. There's a lot of headlines out there that could draw your attention. Read just a little further before you decide to pass along that shocking information. Even in legitimate news stories, the headline doesn't always tell the whole story. Fake news, particularly efforts to be satirical, can include several revealing signs in the text. Do check the author. Find out who wrote what. So remember CARS. I think CARS is very helpful. As Trump was elected president, we've received Ford has moved car production from Mexico to Ohio because of Trump's election. Readers cited various blog items that quoted from and linked to a CNN Money article titled Ford Shifts Truck Production from Mexico to Ohio. But that story is from August 2015, clearly not evidence of Ford making any outcome of the reminder again to check the support for these claims. One deceptive website didn't credit CNN, but instead took CNN's 2015 story and slapped a new headline and publication date on it, claiming, since Donald Trump won the presidency, Ford shifts truck production from Mexico. Not only is that bogus, but it also involves copyright infringements. With that. A lot of stories out there like that, folks. done a lot of research on this, and I can tell you, remember that cars. It's one of the best ways that I have come across to tell if it's false or true. Very important. According to data from Harvard Harris poll, evidently provided exclusively to one magazine, 65% of voters believe a lot of fake news. Well, I know for sure that a lot of people from all walks, whether they be Republican, Democrat, or Independent, do believe that. President's critics, they accuse him of using the fake news moniker for any story that cast him in a negative light. President Trump, of course, he has rallied against the fake news, casting the press as the opposition party. We all know that. And he has used a lot of other sources as news that haven't been used before. So it's kind of an interesting issue seeing what's happening, depending, of course, on which side of the or to which side of the fence you happen to be on as well. Okay, talking about intelligence and news and that type of thing. If you're going to read news, you have to have some type of intelligence. Well, if you're naturally stupid, you're going to be getting a lot of articles mixed up. Just remember, artificial intelligence is no match for natural stupidity. Natural stupidity takes over 100% when it comes to artificial intelligence. It is interesting to note, speaking of artificial intelligence, there is a quote in the Independent that states that computers 2035. Guru Ray Kurzweil seems to believe that artificial intelligence could be on a par with human intellect by the 2020s. Wow. In fact, I don't know, that natural stupidity, artificial intelligence really has something to give there. Kurzweil says that machines will soon be able to solve the toughest of problems that seem insurmountable. He's a pioneer in various fields of computing, such as optical character recognition, technology behind CDs, and automatic speech recognition by machines. Computers, says the report, consist of two-dimensional chips made from silicon. But work is on so that three-dimensional chips with improved performances can easily be made. I do interesting thing with what's happening with our computers. This particular computer scientist foresees a post-human world where a second intelligent entity will walk in tandem with humans. I had a dream one time similar to that, and my dream was let me remember, it's been so long ago. There was a scientist who wanted a child, but he didn't want a boy or girl because he said there were too many problems between genders. So he wanted a child that was essentially sexless, So he had worked and he came up with a way through test womb to be able to have a child that wasn't either boy or girl. So he decided that he would keep this fact to himself. No, in the beginning, the public wouldn't know because they would want to do something with the child and didn't want anything to happen to this child. In fact, he became quite attached to the child. And so time went on, and eventually they found out, and they thought, the public found out, and they thought it was great. So many of them decided, it would be wonderful to have a child that was neither male or female. Artificial womb became very popular because, after all, what woman would choose to go through labor if there was another choice? Labor here, and something else is involved as well. It can be very difficult. So this artificial womb became more and more popular, and so as my dream went on, they began having sexless children, and in time, there was no longer any sperm or egg, so there was no way to make a child the natural way that we'd done for years and years. Everyone was sexless, they had no gender. And so eventually they began making computers, and they made computers that would start being clones of themselves, and started teaching these computers to work on trying to produce sperm and egg again so that they could make a human again. Just end of my dream, they had computers there by themselves. All the humans had died off, and computers were there trying desperately to find a way to make the sperm and egg so that they could make a human being. But they hadn't been fortunate at the end of my dream, and my dream ended with, will they be able to produce a living human being, or will the end of humans exist, and will the robots just rust away? So that was my. Well, there's an interesting quote. Alan Turing said, instead of trying to produce a program to stimulate the adult mind, why not rather try to produce one which stimulates the child? If this were then subjected to an appropriate course of education, one would obtain the adult brain. Wow. Pretty interesting. Doing a lot of things these days, and they truly are. But what's interesting is looking at some of the oldest IT systems in the federal government. There's about 10 really, really, really old ones, and you would be surprised which ones they are. To the best of my knowledge, and I have an article 2017 from NextGov, and it has 10 specific old systems in the federal government. Now, when you consider how far the computers have come, and we'll talk about that after I share this with you, it might surprise you. The first one that's very, very old is approximately 56 years old. The agency that uses it, believe it or not, is the IRS, Treasury Department. It's the massive application that receives taxpayer data and dispenses refunds. So it's written in assembly language code, a low-level computer code that's difficult to write and maintain, and operates on an IBM mainframe. So that's part of what's taking so long to get the checks out back, because it's such an old system. The second one is also from the IRS, and it's also 56 years old, and it is the companion system that maintains data on business income. Third agency that has very old computer system is the Defense Department. Its system is the Automated Command and Control System. This is the system that coordinates U.S. nuclear forces. It runs on 1970s era IBM computer systems. The good news is the Pentagon is planning for upgrades, including updated data storage and desktop terminals by the end of 2017. Fourth agency is Veterans Affairs Department. Its computer system is 53 years old. They are looking also at replacing what they have been using, platform 17 that they will use. The fifth one, again, is the Defense Department, and the system is Compass, 52 years old. And that is what it is the computerized movement planning and status system that helps determine when Army equipment should be removed, replaced, or discarded. The system currently runs on a Windows 2008 server. It uses a 2009 Oracle 11 giga database. And then again, Veterans Affairs Department shows up with the system which currently operates to track benefit claims filed by veterans. VA has general plans to transition these capabilities into a new system, but still lacks a firm date for the switch. So those that file for benefits way backlogged in the And the reason is because of the very old system that they are using. The seventh one is the Transportation Department. The system is the Hazardous Materials Information System, and it's 46 years old. The system is used to track incidents involving hazardous materials. They are outdated and costly to maintain. Transportation says all legacy components within the system are scheduled to be replaced. The eighth oldest system in the American government, federal government, is the Commerce Department, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. It is 46 years old. The investment is made up of 3 different systems, and they are used to provide warnings about severe weather to the public and emergency managers. They run on a number of different operating systems and software, including Windows Server 2003. Old systems. There's 2 more I'll mention. The Commerce Department, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, again, has the National Data Buoy Center Ocean Observing Systems. It provides continuously updated ocean data to observe trends in sea level heights and to forecast hazards such as tsunamis. Both Windows and Linux operating systems, including an unsupported version of Microsoft Server software. And finally, the 10th oldest in the federal system, again, goes to the Homeland Security Department, Immigration and Customs Enforcement Tracking System. It's 39 years old. The system, which is used to track hiring this agency, functions using COBOL and is run on a 2008 IBM 10 mainframe. Agency plans to replace the mainframe with a service-oriented architecture beginning this year, if the agency receives enough funding. That was a rather interesting article about the many old IT systems in the federal government. I know some of you don't have a clue. You're like my husband. You're probably a dinosaur when it comes to cell phones and phone. Some of it's interesting, though. Like, do you know what a brain computer is? Well, they're devices that already transmit electrical signals to the brain. Brain computer is a catch-all term for a range of technologies. Today's brain computers are relatively simple devices. They exist for medical purposes. They rely on crude connections to the brain. They're used to make up for a damaged body function, such as hearing loss. Have you ever thought that the little hearing aid that you use is kind of a computer? The simplest type of brain computer is a cochlear implant. The cochlea is a bone that's in your ear, so or actually implanted in the ear, and these devices turn sound waves into electrical signals to stimulate the auditory nerve directly. Sits behind the ear. That is the computer controlling this process. Sits behind the ear, connected to a microphone and a wearable battery pack. It transmits both power and sound waves, transformed electromagnetic signals to an implant just inside the skull, again, right next to the ear, that is next to that cochlear. Another sort of existing brain computer is called a neurostimulator. It's used in the treatment of Parkinson's disease frequently. It's usually implanted under the skin on the chest or the lower back. And it sends electrical signals to parts of the brain called the basal ganglia. Basal ganglia are associated with control of voluntary movement. So there's a whole lot of things that computers, these brain computers, are doing. Did you know I have a neurotransmitter in my, it's in my lower back, I suppose, and it helps control the pain issues that I would have if I did not have it implanted. I actually have the battery in the lower back, and then the spinal, I want to say cords, and that's not the right, spinal leads lay against my spine itself. And this helps control the nerve impulses, and so that I don't feel them. It sends different messages to my brain instead. There is also a spinal implant that is just now being used on, I think it's rats at the time, and it is possible that this spinal implant could help paralyzed people walk again. Believe it or not, this is not science fiction. Honestly, it is not. It attaches directly to the spine. Sounds like paralyzed people are having new hope after finding out about this. This is like a kind of like my lead, I suppose. It's embedded with electrodes, which lies along the spinal cord and delivers electrical impulses and also drugs. They have tried it on paralyzed rats, and these rats were able to walk on their own again just after a few weeks. The researchers are hoping to move to clinical trials in humans soon. They believe that a device could last 10 years in humans before needing. My particular battery lasts for about 7 years before I have it replaced. Previous experiments had shown that chemicals and electrodes implanted in the spine could take on the role of brain and stimulate nerves voluntarily when they were placed on a treadmill. So these rats are actually able to move their legs involuntarily when placed on a treadmill. And they have these chemicals and electrodes in their spine. Scientists have struggled and struggled and struggled to find a device which will sit next to the spine, because both are surrounded by a protective envelope of tissue, which the hard surface implants can rub against and causes inflammation and scar tissue, unfortunately. New gadget is more stretchy and flexible, so it's placed directly onto the spinal cord. It's a lot like living tissue. Delivers electrical impulses and drugs, which activate cells. This is really cool. Watch out, Hollywood. Reality was praised by British. Sounds really exciting. It could eventually be used in epilepsy, Parkinson's disease, and also pain management. Scientists are planning to move toward clinical trials in humans within the next few years. People will no longer need wheelchairs. Isn't that exciting? I hope it comes to that someday. And then, of course, we have our drones. United States initial attempts at commercial use of UAVs, which stands for unmanned aerial vehicles known as drones, such as the Paco Copter Company for food delivery, were blocked by FAA regulations. As of 2015, delivering of packages with drones in the United States. The 13th of March 2015 in Sheffield, FPS Distribution did the first commercial delivery using a UAF. Remember, a UAF stands for Unmanned Aerial Vehicles, which could also be thought of as drones. AV. Now, this is some of the ways that UAVs are being used in healthcare. The RQ-7 Shadow, as they call it, is capable of delivering a 20-pound quick meds canister to frontline troops. UAVs can transport medicines and vaccines and retrieve medical supplies into and out of remote or otherwise inaccessible regions. Ambulance drones rapidly deliver defibrillators in the crucial few minutes after cardiac arrest and include live stream communication capability, allowing paramedics to remotely observe and instruct on-scene individuals in how to use the defibrillators. July 2015, the FAA approved the first such use of a drone within the United States to deliver medicine to a rural Virginia medical clinic in a program called Let's Fly Wisely. Well, unfortunately, these drones have been used in negative ways as well, such as drug smuggling. Drug cartels have used transport contraband, sometimes using GPS-guided UAVs. Can you believe GPS-guided UAVs? Smuggle drugs. And also prison smuggling. 2013 and 2015, UAVs were observed delivering items into prisons on at least 4 occasions in the United States, while 4 separate but similar incidents occurred in Ireland, Britain, Australia, and Canada as well. Though not a popular way of smuggling items into prisons, corrections officials state that some individuals are beginning to experiment with these drones. In November 2013, 4 people in Morgan, Georgia were arrested for allegedly attempting to smuggle contraband into Calhoun State Prison with a 6-rotor remote controlled helicopter. The suspects were found with probably about 1 or 2 pounds of tobacco rolled up. In 2014, quadcopter crashed into an exercise yard of Wheatville Prison, Dublin. The quadcopter collided with wires designed to prevent helicopters landing to aid escapes, causing it to crash. Package containing drugs hung from the quadcopter and was seized by prisoners before prison staff could get to it. The damaged quadcopter was handed over to an Garda Síochána. I guess that's what they call them. Between 2014 and 2015, at 2 prisons in South Carolina, items such as drugs and cell phones were flown into the area by drones with authorities, and one prison not knowing how many deliveries were successful before gaining the attention of authorities. Wow. Well, Connect Robotics, a pilot project with Santa Casa di Misericordia di Pinella and Pinella Town Hall. And what they did was they made a first meal delivery per drone in December 2016. The project intends to be an alternative to the transport done with the minivan. The first beneficiary to take advantage of this delivery service was a septuagenarian living in Hodentinaha. Some of these places are places I haven't even heard of, who, in addition to meals delivered by the drone, continued to receive the home assistance provided by Santa Casa. Taco Copter is a taco delivery utilizing a smartphone app to order drone-delivered tacos in the San Francisco area. It was created by MIT graduate Star Simpson, and its website went live in July 2011, garnering the public and the media attention. Revelation that it didn't exist as a delivery system or app led to it being labeled a hoax. Independent British franchise of Domino's Pizza tested a remote-controlled drone called Domicopter to deliver pizzas. It was developed by a joint effort of UK drone specialist Aerosite, Big Communications, and creative agency T Plus Biscuits. A short footage video was released in June of 2013. A German-based restaurant on Anna Marie Island, Florida, is testing a remote-controlled drone delivery service. The delivery is called Old Hamburg Schnitzel Haus Air to deliver Wiener Schnitzel to nearby beach. It's currently pending regulatory approval. It was developed in-house with DJI drone parts. Footage video was released in November 2015. And then we have Burrito by Drone deliveries. They are to be tested at the Virginia Tech campus by Chipotle and Google, as per articles from September 2016. Not the first time the concepts come up. Burrito Bomber in 2012. Pizza deliveries via drone are now being trialed in New Zealand by Domino's. The concept can be traced back to 2012 to a Free University of Berlin student project. Other pizza delivery drone attempts include the Domicopter from Domino's, and that happened in the UK in 2013. Francisco's Pizzeria in India 2014, Dudu Pizza Russia 2014, and Vero Verde Pizza Brazil in 2014. What is really interesting is they're going to start using the drones for postal deliveries in certain areas. With the rapid demise of snail mail and the explosive double-digit growth of e-commerce, postal companies have been forced to seek new ways to send their traditional letter delivery business models them working. Different postal companies from Australia, Switzerland, Germany, Singapore, and Ukraine have undertaken various drone trials as they test the feasibility and profitability of unmanned delivery drone services. Another very interesting part of computer age society at this time is the artificial womb. It says the technology 5 years. Researchers have successfully grown premature lambs in an artificial womb. This is out of Science Alert, by the way. It's 26. It's a lamb that's been grown. quite low survival outcomes, and in the U.S. cause of infant mortality and morbidity. Just looking at them, it's immediately clear that they should Philadelphia. With an artificial womb, the babies can continue developing even just a few weeks. Extra growing time can be between severe health problems and a relatively healthy baby. These infants have an urgent need for a bridge between the mother's womb and the outside. Senior researcher for the study. Researchers took 8 lambs between 105 to 120 inside the artificial womb itself is sealed and sterile and filled with solution which acts like amniotic. The lamb's own heart pumps the blood through the umbilical to a gas exchange machine outside the body. It's pretty interesting. One lamb steady proved that the artificial womb worked. After just 4 weeks, the lamb's brains and lungs had matured. They had grown wool and could wiggle, open their eyes, and swallow. It's really something when you think of 4 weeks in the womb, they can do so much too. It's just amazing that we can consider abortion in our extract from Med, which comes out of PubMed. And it says the fact that the development is nearing completion is a mixed blessing. It will provide benefits within the field of pediatric medicine development to term of extremely premature fetuses, but it will pose numerous problems which the law is ill-equipped to handle. The legislature will have to definition of parent, which is based on normal conception practices. It will also have to determine whether couples should have access to this technology and under which conditions. Rather interesting, I would say. Okay, well, I hate to cut us short again. I am learning still and have to do this so that I can or for next week. We have a special guest next week. I think I'm headmaster here at the VFW, so it will be interesting talking with you. Forward to seeing all of you then. Have a great week, and thanks.
At Twitter, my handle is Flo. Remember, you can contact me at Twitter. My handle is Flobo, or you can email me at flo@KLRNRadio. That has no spaces in between it. .com. So that's flo@KLRNradio.com with no spaces in KLRN and radio, please. Thank you much.